So before we get into some catching up or whatever, I do have kind of a personal question I want to run by you.
Okay.
Now you're a single dad, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you mind if somebody, a friend of yours, were to submit your name to a show like Love is Blind?
Oh, wow. So I've
Because
watched Love is Blind.
I can I throw that out there that I have thought of some of my friends, my single dad friends that I know, and you come up several times in my head where I'm like, this guy, he'd be a pretty good catch on a show like this. What do you think?
I don't
Would you go on a
know.
show like that?
You know, it's, you're out there. I don't know. It's weird, right? Because like you're out there when
Yes.
you go on that show, America, and maybe a little more is like we all are watching. And I guess the scary part for me would be, fumbling in some kind of weird garden dorkiness and someone just being like, "What?" and just being
That's the great
frozen in that.
part of the show like that. And I think they mentioned it on the reunion show this past weekend is that everybody
Uh-huh.
that goes on there,
Hmm.
everybody kind of does something stupid or whatever. But we all accept that because you're on a show and you have cameras following you around. I'm just kind of curious if my friend from Long Island, New York, would you be up for doing a show like that?
Would I be up?
Seriously.
Uh, you know,
Because I think
yeah.
you would be a
I,
fantastic person to follow on something like that. I think you're just an
oh,
awesome
thanks,
guy.
big guy. Thanks.
And I think
That's
you're a great friend. You're a fantastic father. I've said that before, and I
oh,
said that on our first podcast, but I think you'd be a pretty good like boyfriend fiance. I'm not,
listen.
if I was looking for a guy, I mean, you'd be right there on my top of my list of all the things I know about you.
Oh,
But
thanks, big guy.
would you go on a show like that?
Would I go on a show like that? I think my answer would have to be yes. I would try it out. And, why not? I would definitely have to work out that schedule because I think you're away for a little while when you do it. But
You're
yeah,
finding
right.
love. You're finding love, man.
It's there. But I will throw. So yes is my answer. My caveat would be, I would hope that they would put someone on there that would be a little bit more on my. I'm not looking to walk around with charcuterie boards and golden goblets. Like that's not my thing. Hopefully there's a gardener on there, and it's like,
Well,
hey,
they it's Netflix, right? They know
yeah,
how to produce a show, and I'm sure that they have their list of people that are going to be on, and they know how to match people up on certain things that would kind of match up with
yeah.
certain cast members or whatever. And I've always, I'm kind of selfish on this because one, I love the show. Number two, I love you, and I think you would be a fantastic person on there. But I got to find out if this is a real show or not, or if this is just kind of fake. I don't know.
Well, I know that one of the people on there, I can't remember her name, but she got with it was like an African doctor guy, and they went all the way to the proposal for marriage part at the end, and he turned her down. And I later found out from friends that she's like a YouTube fitness celebrity, and that she had been talking in her YouTube stuff about like, oh, like kind of a conversation like we're having. And she ended up going from talking about it in her YouTube channel to being in the show doing it. And I was kind of like, oh, that's a little interesting. But that's the only person I've heard of in that show where that was the setup. They were kind of already a celebrity and then they ended up in. But there's another one, Married at First Sight,
Yeah,
that
I watched
is
that.
the idea of I think you meet at the altar and you go through it. And I'll tell you what, in watching both of those shows, I feel like I learn so much about the conflicts you have in relationships,
Sure.
and it's super cool to look at it in that very like separated manner, like, oh, I think what she's asking for is just for you to listen a little bit more. And if you did that, I think should be, willing to compromise with that. But when, the conflict isn't so separated, it can be hard to see it that clearly. But yeah, I get it. I think anyone in a relationship or that's been in a relationship can watch these shows and relate to them and pick up things from them.
Do you feel that on a show like, let's specifically talk Love is Blind, because it just ended this weekend, and I had no idea that you watched it.
Oh it's popular, man.
It's funny that you do. Do you think that it is possible that the premise of that show, that you would be able to fall in love with somebody that you can only talk between the walls of your own pod? You don't see each other. I'm a little pessimistic on this, in a sense that I would love to say Love is Blind and a lot of it has to do with the insides, what that person is on the inside. I get it, but I think there's an equal 50-50 at the least, to where you have to be physically attracted to the other person. And the thing with the premise of the show is, this is where it's not truly Love is Blind, because that they're not going to cast really, really unattractive, physically unattractive people, which I think would be the best show. I think they should have more everyday type people that you would see at, let's say, when I go to
yard sales. Flea market,
sales,
Walmart.
Or I go to Walmart, and
Walmart.
The first 50 people I see in Walmart, let's take those people and have a Love is Blind show. But you know what I'm saying? You know that they're not going to, that the other person is going to be at least probably a 5 or higher on a scale of physical attractiveness. What do you think?
That is a really good point. I do think there's some safety in that. You're like, hey, but yeah, no, I agree. And I'd have to say, as far as is the concept of Love is Blind, 100% I would go. I don't know if Love is Blind. I think Love might be, might not be completely based on the physical there, but there is that moment where they come out of the box and they see each other. And there's got to be something there. Love is Blind, great show, great concept, but I think we've all seen when they meet, that's when we really find out what's going to happen. Is love really blind after they meet, after they make that initial connection?
That's the best. That's one of the best parts of the show, is you're waiting for them to do the reveal where the door opens up and they see each other, and I am glued to my TV because I am reading their faces, and usually it has gone pretty good. And then there's been a couple people on there to where you can just tell that they were not there. And there was a particular one this past season too, to where she said that when she saw him, she was like, she wanted to turn and run. So what would you be more nervous about? What they physically, when they saw you, or when you saw her? Like, if you were on the show, what would be the part of the reveal that you would be more nervous about? And I'm going to ask Chelsea this also on our show. Chelsea and I have Brian and Chelsea make a podcast. It's kind of an offshoot presented by the Tossing Salad podcast.
Yeah.
And our next episode is supposed to be all Love is Blind to go over the season. So I'll ask her the same question I'm going to ask you right now. Would you be more nervous about what they think of you when that door opens, or would you be more concerned with what you're seeing?
So I would definitely be more concerned with what they're seeing, only because, Brian, my entire life, I have experienced having phone conversations with people and then meeting them and them going, oh my God, that you're just not who I thought you would be, my entire life. So that would, that's writing on my mind.